I'm not too concerned with proportion right now. I think the forehead and stuff is fine, and the eye. I think what I'd want to see more for this assignment specifically is more of a excavation or archaeological kind of discovery of making sure you know all the forms. So I would take like a round brush and then do a very careful wireframe of exactly what's happening. And, getting that shelf there to be very obvious. Because if you can do that, then you can get in there with a brush to say that side is facing this way, that's that way. And you can alternate as you see fit, right? So I'd say that's kind of what it's missing. Because as a painting, it looks fine. It looks good. He kind of looks better in your painting than in the photo. But we want to be more specific with the studies of the features for this one. Regarding painting, I think the values are a little bit in the wrong spots. Like I think when I squint, I just see a triangle of brightness. Triangle of brightness here, kind of like a weird F shape there, gradating to darkness here, and nowhere else, right? So having said that, over here, I could just put in that triangle, get that F shape in there, and then everywhere else is pretty dark, except there. Right. So I would say just be careful with your value groups. I mean, what I did just now doesn't really look good or accurate right now, but once you apply that to everywhere, making sure the values line up, it'll look a little bit better. All right, that strayed way too far, but yeah, that's the idea. Just make sure the value groups are more distinct than where they need to be. That doesn't mean it's a bad painting. It's just a little bit off. What you can do is do a wireframe, and then do a low poly of it. So first it's doing something like this, bends this way, like that, inward, out, really in, then out again, in and out again. Oh. Okay, and then now it's going to do something like this. Let's go carefully. So it's going to peak here, then go down a little bit, then out again. And the cheekbone area is probably the most difficult for everyone when they're learning the face, even like 3D artists. It's a very complex, confusing area. But if we know that that's the basic wireframe, we can kind of ask ourselves, how do we make it low poly? And that will actually really help a lot. So we're doing a high poly one right now, meaning many polygons. So next, what you could do, say like, okay, well, this stuff is facing that way. That's the normals of it. We could say that that's one poly. And then it starts to turn a little bit this way. So that's another. And then this way again. So it's going this way, that way, and this way. And here it kind of goes inward a little bit, but just barely noticeable, but it's there. And then out. Then it flattens to be straight again, right? So, and then as we transition to this area, we can say that this does something like that. And then here it gets really complex because the brow ridge gets involved. So we have this underside and then this top side. And we'll render this in a second to kind of show you how this works. And then there's this shape. And that shape. And we'll forget all this stuff for now. But if we just take that information and say, all right, forget the reference. We could even turn this off. Let's make a new layer, make it gray. And if we just try to add light to this, or form. Let's make it black, actually. Anything facing the left side, we'll just let light hit it. And then the brightest spot will be probably here. And then the important thing is to remember that this is where it transitions and changes angles, right? So this side is facing a different direction than this right here. We could add a little bit of darkness here, but and then, you know, this side is facing upward. This side is also facing the same way as these polygons. And then we have stuff that's facing down. So that's this right here and right there. You could even say that these are both facing down, right? And then we can, just by doing that, turn off the line work, that's pretty much the geometry that we can blend together this with an airbrush. Maybe put a little highlight here. Let that blend upward like that. And suddenly it starts to look like the cheekbone and eye area. And now these are like low poly. What eventually happens is things get really blended together and there's more transitions and we sort of lose that simplified information. But if you start with this simplified information, then go complex, then it'll be a much easier process. So if we look at how that compares to the reference, you know, it fits right in. You zoom out, it just looks like he's wearing a mask or something. But, you know, that will help you differentiate between the sides and how to transfer over. That might be like a really long-winded way of explaining that, but does that make sense?